Hello, and welcome to Inventors Helping Inventors. I'm your host, Alan Beckley, inventor of the Wonder Wallet. If you're an inventor searching for proven ways to make money with your invention, if you dream to see your product selling in stores everywhere, you've come to the right place. There's no better place to get help than from experts, inventors who've already achieved success. Every week, I interview successful inventors, asking them the questions you want to know. Tune in to learn from the experts so you can get your invention out of the tank and into the bank.
It gives you autonomy, it gives you independence, and it improves your health. And again, this is all, everyone has different capabilities. We realize that. But the Zeen gives you support and stability to maximize your capabilities.
Welcome to episode number 592. Today, I interview Ryan Meers. Ryan Meers, Chief Operating Officer of Exokinetics Incorporated, is responsible for the overall performance of the company and the systems that support it, including engineering, manufacturing, and new product development. He has been instrumental in growing the team and leading efforts to bring the Zeen to market. Trained in both mechanical engineering from the University of Delaware and a Master of Industrial Design from Pratt Institute, Ryan brings a wealth of engineering, product development, and business management experience to the team. Throughout his 25-plus year career, he has helped to develop a diverse range of products, from material handling products to an infant incubator and other Class 3 medical devices. Ryan has engineered and overseen fabrication for each Zeen prototype and has helped the Zeen evolve into a device that can truly have an impact on others' lives, one that makes mobility easy and even fun for those who have lost the joy of movement. You'll want to listen to this entire interview where Ryan describes how the Zeen was originally developed by Garrett Brown to benefit an aging geriatric population. But Zeen has resonated most strongly with those with chronic illnesses and disabilities, such as MS, Parkinson's, and cerebral palsy. Also, how the team has worked for over 5 years to iteratively improve the Zeen to serve more people, from those who weigh up to 325 pounds to children who may weigh as little as 50 pounds. And finally, why Zeen not only has physical benefits to users, including cardiovascular and lymphatic function, but also psychological benefits from being able to stand and engage at eye level with standing peers. Now let's get right to our interview with Ryan Meers. Ryan Meers, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast with us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I'm honored. This is exciting to talk about.
Ryan, I had interviewed Garrett Brown on the podcast almost a year ago in episode number 493. I think it was in March of last year, about Exokinetics' amazing product for mobility, Zeen. And for listeners that missed that episode, you might want to go back and listen to it first, and then listen to today's interview for an update on the Zeen product. Ryan, you and Garrett worked closely together in developing the Zeen, and I learned that you would be an excellent guest to discuss the updates and evolution of Zeen since I spoke with him back in March. Ryan, in the last interview, Garrett spoke about your mobility device called the Zeen, and the Zeen allows those with disabilities to regain increased mobility and autonomy to improve their lives. To give our listeners a visual reference, can you describe what the Zeen looks like? And also, how does it function to help those whose mobility is limited, particularly those in wheelchairs? And last question here, is it completely mechanical or does it require electricity? Can you speak to those various points then?
Certainly. The Zeen is a really new concept in the DME, the fall stability industry. If you can imagine a racy-looking four-wheeled device that has a seat and handlebars that's black and sleek looking, that's what the Zeen is. The Zeen has a seat that swivels, and imagine a bicycle seat with a prow that has a large rear portion that gives you a comfortable area to sit on. Again, the seat does swivel as you walk because the seat is always underneath you. The seat provides a lift to get you safely up to a standing height. And once you're standing, that seat is swiveling underneath you, providing support. There's a mesh backrest that cradles your back and gives you support. It comes up with the seat as you rise, but then as you're seated, it gives you plenty of support. And overall, it's just a really non-medical looking, high quality device that has oval tubing in a black matte finish with sweeping curves. And it's a real head turner for folks. A pretty exciting device. What it does though, as you had asked about the function of it, the main unique feature of it is that it gives a lift, an assisted lift from your seated position up to your comfortable standing height. And that lift is done through pneumatics, through gas springs. It's adjustable for your weight. There's really main two adjustments. It's how much lift do you want and how high do you want the seat to go? So what is your comfortable standing height? We call it the inseam height. That's from the ground up to your groin. That's how high we want the seat to go. And this is a bit of a unique thing in the industry, providing that lift and getting you comfortable and supported at standing height. There's a seat belt that wraps around you and keeps you secure onto that saddle, even when you're standing. What that does, though, is it allows you to be comfortable at standing height. There's a lot of health benefits to standing, both from a digestive standpoint, from a bone density standpoint, having those impacts as you walk with your bones, a cardiovascular and lymphatic system. So the movement in your muscles pumps that lymphatic fluid through your body and it helps your health. And then also from a mental standpoint, getting you up to standing, getting you up to an eye level with other peers, that's vastly important.
Oh, I did have one clarification question, and that is it completely mechanical or does it require electricity to work?
So the Zeen is non-electric, and we did that on purpose. Our philosophy here is we want people to be able to use their muscles and encourage them to use their muscles because the Zeen is basically an exercise device and it's also a lifestyle device. So the more that you use your muscles, the stronger you're going to get, but it also benefits those health features we just talked about. We do think that in the future, there will be an assistive motor to it to help you when you get tired if you're going on long distances. But we're pushing against the norm right now is to move everybody into a powered scooter, a powered wheelchair. And our philosophy is we don't think that's healthy if you don't have to go that route. So we're providing this alternative that was missing in the past.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Just as I was listening to you speak, and I was thinking about a potential downside to motorized wheelchairs is that you're going to become dependent upon them. It's going to create a dependency, whereas allowing as much independence as you can in the mobility as you do with the Zeen does the opposite. It gives them independence. It doesn't tend to make them so dependent, I would say. Is that accurate?
Yeah. It gives you autonomy, it gives you independence, and it improves your health. And again, this is all, everyone has different capabilities. We realize that. But the Zeen gives you support and stability to maximize your capabilities. And that's both at a seated height and a standing height.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. And you just touched a little bit on this, but one of the things for sure that Garrett had brought up was psychologically, the ability to stand and see others eye to eye is a psychological breath of fresh air for those in wheelchairs. He touched on the improved quality of life for them and that wheelchair-bound people tend to have a high suicide rate. As you continue to progress with Zeen, have you done any studies, not only on the physical advantages of it, as you spoke to, but also on the psychological advantages of it?
This is really important for people. And if you could imagine sitting at a kitchen table and being at a low position while your friends are having a conversation while they're standing above you, you just don't feel part of that conversation. So rising up and being at eye level for these conversations is a mental gain. It's really important. Imagine this also at school, and you think about kids where the Zeen could be useful not only in the classroom, but participating at the gym or at recess. These social cues of eye level ability to interact is so important. The fact that the Zeen is lightweight and foldable. So the Zeen actually does fold to about 11 inches wide. It weighs 42 pounds. So you can put it in the car, you can take it places. That gives a whole nother level of just awareness of your surroundings, ability for you to do things that you love, continue to do things that you love. These are all important aspects for mental health. From a study standpoint, we did a lot of internal long-term studies in the development of the Zeen. And the development of the Zeen was done a very iterative approach of making a prototype, testing it internally, testing it with users, learning, and then making further refinements to continue that cycle. That's probably very common with a lot of the inventors that you speak with. We did that for 5 years total. So it took a very long time. And the original concept of the Zeen looks nothing like where we're at now. But we did long-term user studies to gain insight and to learn about how the Zeen could be most beneficial. We are in the midst of planning studies that will help us present this to CMS and to reimbursement partners in the future to help differentiate us from a walker and from a wheelchair and to show the true benefits of what the Zeen can offer.
I think CMS stands for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Currently, the Zeen does not have a particular place at CMS, a PIC code. It's not a walker. It's not a wheelchair. It's something new. And that presents a challenge for us trying to get reimbursement. So the studies that you're asking about are vitally important for us to help differentiate that and position it with CMS.
Makes perfect sense. I also want to hit on the point that you made that you did lots of iterative testing and studying of it over a 5-year period and testing with users. And I've just got to say, for every inventor, even at much different levels in the kind of product that you have, it's so important to get user experience and get user feedback because that's the way you improve the product. And you've got to make sure it's comfortable for them because if you're the developer and you've never been wheelchair bound, then there's a lot of things you don't understand unless you begin to work with somebody who has. So the value of doing these kinds of testing and studies to make the product really a great fit for the users, I don't think can be overstated.
I would fully agree with you. We had the luxury of developing a great team, and this was a true team effort to develop the Zeen. Garrett and Chris Fawcett were the original inventors, would you say? But building upon that, myself and multiple other engineers helped develop this and further it. We also had the help of a physical therapist on our team, orchestrated a lot of this long-term testing that we did. And so that physical therapist is familiar with the patterns and how to handle folks with disabilities that we were testing with. And they were able to collect good feedback for us. It's vitally important. The features and improvements that we made based upon those studies really changed the way that the Zeen shaped up and became a manufacturable product.
I'd like to talk about moving forward, say from March of last year when he and I last talked. What is new for Zeen? Have you developed any new features of it or product extensions in the last year? And also, have you found it has applications into other customer segments that perhaps you had not envisioned previously? Could you speak to those 2 points?
Sure. We're currently not pushing the Zeen towards the folks that we initially thought the Zeen would be useful towards. Garrett originally conceived of the Zeen for his parents and for the aging geriatric population. And it has proven to be more of interest to those with chronic illnesses and disabilities such as MS and Parkinson's and cerebral palsy. Those people are hungry and looking for solutions. So what we've done, we developed the Zeen, but now we've been trying to make it more accommodating to folks who might have fallen outside of our initial user requirements for the Zeen. Though our user requirements involve how heavy are you, how tall are you, what is your grip strength. And so in the past year or two, what we've done is we've done testing on the strength of our Zeen, and we've made improvements to allow it to be offered to people who are up to 325 pounds. A year ago, it was 250 pounds. We've also adapted it to people that are lighter. So 50 pounds or above is our lightest setting. We're accommodating people who are taller. Garrett Brown, you may not know, he's about 6'6", and the Zeen that we developed initially did not fit him. which is pretty odd. His inseam from the ground up to his groin is about 38 inches. And our current Zeen, our standard Zeen, goes up to 36 inches. So we adapted it and now offer a Zeen for taller folks like Garrett. We have different accessories too that accommodate people with hemiparesis, weakness in one side. And so we have forearm supports. We have some new grip strength accommodating features. We have pulley straps that allow people to use the brakes and the seat release if they don't have as much grip strength as our original design did. And finally, we actually developed a footrest too as an accessory based upon feedback from users and the fact that they wanted a lower height and more centralized place to put their feet. So we're listening. We're developing accommodations for people to broaden the scope and to allow the Zeen to be useful for more people.
Sounds like you really, I'd say, taken a very holistic view of it. And I do recall that I think Garrett had spoken to the idea that the original thinking was for an older geriatric group who in many cases may not be very, or may not be inclined to be very active and more accepting of being sedentary, whereas somebody younger with a disability would like to have more ability to move around, more ability to interact. I'm sure everybody likes the ability to stand, but the two different customer segments anyways might have different goals and uses. And it seems that Zeen is most ideally, from what you're describing, most ideally adapted to somebody who's perhaps middle-aged and disability or something like that, but would like to have more mobility and would like to see if they can get some more muscle strength and that sort of thing. Is that accurate?
You're absolutely right. As I mentioned, we were a bit surprised thinking that geriatric and the aging population, this would be a great benefit. And we still do think it is. It's just going to take a little more time because it's such a new phenomenon. It's such a new device. I think they're just waking up to the fact that this is available. But those with chronic diseases, those people are really interested in reclaiming their lives or improving their lives. And we're surprised consistently with who can use the Zeen. People who haven't walked in 3 years or who've been in a wheelchair or a powered scooter, as long as they have some movement with their legs and meet our minimum criteria, that we're blown away sometimes. And it brings us to tears, really. The team we feed upon the energy we get when we see these folks truly benefiting from the Zeen, especially kids. We've had some really amazing stories of kids using the Zeen, and it's just powerful. But I will tell you that there are other uses for the Zeen that we've found since we've launched it. The fact that now we have a footrest makes it a prime candidate for being a transport chair. So in clinical settings, when they're taking patients to and from different offices or buildings, the ability to transfer them and to lift them up to a better position to get them into their bed or get them into the car as they're leaving the facility is a great benefit. Us here in the office, we use the Zeens as office chairs. And that's another possible use for the Zeen. It's just so fun to ride around, to be at bar stool height, which is basically when you're at your standing height and the Zeen seat is underneath you, you can put your feet up on the footrests and sink your back into that backrest and just be very comfortable at a natural eye level. That combined with our standing desks make it a really awesome office chair. We're continuing to adapt and learn where can this thing be positioned.
It really does show the versatility of it, that it really has a lot more than for sure that you initially envisioned. And when you were talking about a transport chair, I was seeing how that would be fantastic in hospital settings and even fantastic because I have 2 nurses in my family, and nurses are always lifting more than they should. And they almost always end up with not great backs in their older age because of it. And being able to transport easier and get them easier into a bed as needed would be a huge benefit to medical personnel as well, I would think.
You're absolutely right. We have the standard model requires you to grip both levers on the brakes and the seat release, the left and the right. But we do offer our deluxe model where you only need to squeeze either the left or the right. And for that one, that's perfect for these transport chairs where, a physical therapist, a nurse, a physician would just need to squeeze one lever and it helps assist that person. It lifts 70% of their weight, either up to their standing height or down to a seated position. It could be really beneficial in that regard.
Yeah. I suspect that many people with disabilities may be on Medicare or Medicaid and have a fixed income, limited financial resources. Are there agencies or organizations that can help with the funding cost? And is it possible for them to get perhaps 100% reimbursement for the costs or partial reimbursement? Or what are the options there for somebody like that?
Yes, that is a challenge, as we understand. I mentioned before, the zine kind of falls in between the zone of a walker and a wheelchair, and we're working on that. We're trying to get some reimbursement for the zine through CMS. It's not a short-term answer. It's going to take years for that to happen, unfortunately. But there are some resources out there we found. And not every state, but almost every state offers assistive tech loans or grants. And so it's a state-by-state program, I think backed by the government, where they can either apply for a grant or a loan for a device like the Zeen and get full reimbursement or the full loan amount. And these are really low interest rate loans that have long payback periods. You can get your monthly payments down low. We help assist people through that process. Of course, we can't fill it out for them, but yet we can definitely point them in the right direction. Our website has some great resources. That's gozeen.com. And if you go to the bottom of the page, there's funding your zine is a link with a ton of different resources on how to actually make it affordable. We actually do offer financing on our website too, but some people have had success getting reimbursement with private insurance, with their own private insurance company. It's just if you're willing to fight that battle of denials and appealing it and denials and appealing it, that's really where it comes down to. And eventually we've had some people gain success in that regard.
It's a moving target, obviously, and you'd spoken to the fact that with CMS, it doesn't fit their categories. They don't have a category for this, at least not yet. So it's neither a walker nor is it a wheelchair. It's assisted mobility device or something that doesn't exist as a category yet, but hopefully at some point it will, and then it'll fit a little bit more neatly at that time.
That's exactly right. That's what we're aiming for. It's a process. And of course, we have to do studies, and we get in front of the PDAC commission. We have 15 minutes to present our case. So we really have to make it a very solid case for why it is different than existing codes out there. But we're working towards that, rest assured.
Yeah. Ryan, I'd like to ask, as we roll towards a close, are there any parting words you'd like to leave us with?
I could just say that from my experience here, helping to develop the zine, I've been here for 9 years. And I'll tell you, this has been a very rewarding undertaking. So fun working with the team, with Garrett, with Chris and the other engineers. But inventing and starting something new is just really hard. It's really hard. And inventing is not just the hard part. It's the follow through that, in my opinion, is the hardest. To create these functional prototype, to test it and refine that, and to have the gumption to stick with it, to make it manufacturable. Another challenge, right? To develop a supply chain, to make it sellable and marketable, and then spread that awareness. These are all challenges we had to overcome. So it's been a real fun, challenging, and just rewarding experience. I think, personally, I think Garrett exemplifies some of the true principles that are best as an inventor. And I give him a lot of credit. His perseverance and his willingness not to accept anything that's less than ideal. He's a true visionary, and he's always pushing harder and harder to make it better and better. That combined with the teamwork, the team that we've assembled to develop the zine and many more inventions that we're working towards, it's just a rewarding and a very exciting process. So I would encourage people to not part ways and not to stop their inventing, but to continue and to see it through.
I just so agree. My own experience and many others is it is a journey. It's a roller coaster. It's up and down. But the whole thing is, that's why we say product developer, because the initial invention is always the easy part, but really developing it into a fully functional product, making it marketable, and as you said, doing all these other phases of truly making it where it can work. That's where the real challenges lie, for sure. My last question then is, how can our listeners reach you if they have other questions, or perhaps they or somebody they know might like to purchase a zine?
Absolutely. So our website is a great resource for questions, gozeen.com. We've developed this website over the years and it's answered a lot of questions for folks. You're welcome to give us a call, but if there's any questions specifically about our developments. So welcome to reach out to myself. So Ryan Meers, Ryan@exokinetics.com. I'm willing to take your call.
That's fantastic. Let me just repeat that back. It's GoZeen, and that's GOZEEN.com. And they can reach you at Ryan@exokinetics.com.
That's right. And if there's any questions about applicability for a loved one or someone who is interested in the Zeen, we have an amazing, very caring sales team. We're a high touch company as far as our sales process and even the follow through after the sale to make sure it's the right fit. I would just encourage them to give us a call. 1-833-4ZEEN. So that's 833-367-9336. And our team is just awesome. So, we're going to answer your questions and more.
Great touch points and ways for them to reach you. I really appreciate you highlighting that. And again, I just want to thank you, Ryan, for being on the podcast with us today and sharing a little bit more about this phenomenal product and really life-changing device, and as it continues to evolve. And I'd like to just keep the opportunity open another 6 months or a year to touch bases with you at that time and see what you guys have got going then.
That sounds great, Alan. Thank you so much for having me. And I would love to talk to you in the future and maybe with Garrett. We have a lot going on. We're continuing to innovate and develop new products. So this is a very exciting time for the company. Let's talk soon.
You bet. Thanks a lot. Thanks so much for tuning in to Inventors Helping Inventors. If you like the show, please tell your friends about it. Make sure to subscribe in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts so you won't miss a single episode. Talk to you soon.